Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. Yet again, I brought on another fantastic group of comic book creators, and to be very specific, indie comic book creators, the only type that matters. Okay, indie comic book creators. All right. So thank you so much for being here. Please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, let me bring on my co-host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Indy Comics Explained. Yes, you got the man of the hour here, Joe D. McFee, coming over from the desk of a small press publisher. If you haven't watched last night's episode, I would advise you to go ahead and watch it because we talked a lot about the insides of why an accounting team would put a kill on a project or product, especially after what DC has done with Wonder Girl. So we went through that whole gambit there. That's kind of worthwhile to watch. So I'm here now, and we're going to have a good discussion here with JD Calderon and the rest of our guests of the night here, which he's going to bring on right now.
There we go. And now we have our co-host, Mr. Mark. What's up?
Hello, everyone. This is your Coco Mark from A Came From Radio, the show, The Big Apple Con. We are a syndicated radio show weekly that has been on the air since the first Daredevil movie came out with Ben Affleck. You can hear us on a traditional radio station as well as online radio stations. Also on podcast places. So just Google Came From Radio. You can find us. And I am eager to go and ask all the business-related questions about indie comics today.
All right. Nice. Very nice. All right. How you doing, Marvin? Introduce yourself.
Marvin Wynn. I am the writer and creator of The Edge from Second Sight Publishing.
Nice. All right. Short and sweet. I like that. What's up, Carlos?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Carlos Raphael, publisher of Champion Comics. Also one of the partners with Coalition Comics, the Power Company. And I'm happy to be here.
All right, cool. And from the ether, we bring back the long, the lost, Mr. JD Rosario.
How does that meme go? Surprise, surprise, motherfuckers! The king is back. What's up, everybody? Glad to be back hanging out with everyone tonight. For those of you who do not know me, I'm JD Rosario. You can find me under J the Unstoppable on Instagram, and you can find the books that I've made under the Unstoppable Comics imprint at the website with such name, and Facebook and Instagram under Unstoppable Comics.
All right, thank you.
Hello. You guys can hear me fine?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I'm Michael Grassia. I am a cartoonist, indie creator, animator. I'm a cartoon educator, and I run my own podcast on Tuesday nights called Get in Tune.
Yep, and that is an awesome podcast.
Thank you very much.
I've actually been on that podcast, by the way. Yeah,
quite a few times.
All right. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm J.M. DeSantis, writer, artist, creator of Chadiana, and publisher at Darkfire Press.
All right, cool. Thank you, gentlemen. Real quick. All right. Well, we got our standard hellos. Hello, Trish. Thank you, Trish. And we have what's up, Mr. Story Comics. Thank you for being here, folks. Now, I asked all you gentlemen on specifically because I wanted to talk business. I wanted to talk the business of comics, right? So, we all, all of us have been in this, I think, for at least 10 years. I don't think there's a single person on who's been here less than that, Yeah. So I think we have a pretty good dearth of knowledge here. So I got this question for everybody. Distribution. What has been the most effective way of you or us as creators to get your work in the hands of readers? So let's start with Mr. JM. We'll start at the top and work our way up.
All right. I mean, it's still, I'd say it's still kind of fluid at the moment, you know? I just hooked up with a distributor last year, so we're going to see how that goes.
Mhm.
But honestly, still direct sales and Comixology were probably the best two before this. Yeah,
Okay. All right,
I would
fair
say.
enough.
With Comixology, though, they just changed. So,
Mhm.
you know, you used to be able to, they had their Indie Comics like submit area. Now Amazon's taken the whole thing over, so I'm still seeing how that's going to work. But
Mhm.
Comixology actually did pretty well for the digital reading. And then, yeah, direct sales at conventions.
Now, you say you signed up with a distributor. If you don't mind me asking, which one?
Comics Mainstream.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Hey, can I ask
Mr.
how's that going with Amazon so far? With the crossover, have you gotten any sales through that yet, or no?
Well, they just made the crossover in January.
Okay.
Now I'm still trying to figure out how the whole thing works because, like, I have an Amazon account and I've done KDP publishing, right? But getting it onto the Comixology app, even though the title's already listed, it's kind of a little. I still haven't figured out exactly how it's supposed to go. You know, Amazon's not very accessible as far as troubleshooting goes. You know.
It is.
If they
weird.
have a problem, they'll contact you and let you know there's a problem. But otherwise, it's very hard to ask questions.
So you don't have a link that you can share with people, take them right to your property?
Actually, you do, but it's weird to set it up because what they did is that they got rid of Submit and they forcing everybody to use KDP as of right now.
KEP is. I'm sorry.
Kindle Direct Publishing.
Right.
Oh, KDP. Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
So now everything is pretty much on the creator's point of view. There's nobody there at Comixology to sit there to break things down for the guided view anymore. You have to literally sit there within the Kindle Direct Publishing software and do that yourself. I mean, it's a lot more work to be done when you put the books out there.
Right.
My books have been converted over since August of last year. That was our cutoff date for those books that we had already on the Comixology platform because they wanted to make it multi-platform. They wanted to use the KDP side to generate sales from that point forward because they was changing the Comixology's interface for some reason. And I have seen a major drop off on royalties as a result of it. And that is only because of the way that they're now doing Kindle Unlimited.
All right. Well, we'll get into that.
I'm still getting royalties every month, but it's significantly less.
All right. Well, we'll get back to that in a minute, Joe. Michael, what do you think? How are you getting your stuff out there?
Well, I haven't published in a few years, but I've been watching as much as I can, learning. I'm getting ready to bring something out in a few months. But it was always direct sales for me. I didn't have the access or, in mostly in money to advertise in other places to get it out past my local areas, outside of traveling to shows. But I've been working on developing stuff for digital platforms. I feel even though I love print, I feel it's hard to get print out into people right now. So I'm going to be focusing on some digital platforms and checking out how that works out for me, and we'll see where that goes.
All right. Cool. Sounds good. Marvin?
Yes, sir. So I probably have the advantage or one here that I am in Diamond, but at the same time, we are still looking for other avenues. I wonder, has anyone pitched to Lunar at all? Yeah.
No.
No, not yet.
I contacted them, but didn't get anything back. Yeah.
Right. Well, they did open up submissions, so they actually do have a catalog now that has more than just DC in it. But I think that as we go along, a lot of stores are looking to go direct. I've been contacted by multiple stores, and as you guys know, that I did build that list of friendly stores all these stores are willing to go direct now. A lot of them are a little wary on it, but a lot of them are saying that they are willing to go because of damages mostly. They're seeing a lot of damages coming from Diamond. You're seeing a lot of damages coming from Penguin. Lunar is a little better on the packaging, but it's just the overload of the boxes that's causing problems. I know a retailer who had 80% damaged books in his last order. So he still has to sell these books, so he's selling them at a discount now because they were so damaged. When I ship books, I bag and board all the books that I ship. They're in solid boxes, and they're not. The only way they're good damage is somebody opens it and flings the books out of the bag and board and gets out of them. I mean, even getting books from other people, like I've seen people drop things in water, and the books are still fine because they were bagged up properly. So a lot of things building up. I mean, I've already talked to a few of you guys about what we're planning. So I think we're going to get those windows open to those stores and be able to go to direct. So you'll be able to eliminate pretty much distribution from a certain point of view, but eliminating Diamond from the whole entire thing will be a plus for everybody.
All right, let me just put these up real quick. Trish says, I beg my local comic shop. That's always the plan. So it's a hard one though.
Yeah.
Marvin says, what's up? Replies, but this was important. Can you give out that spreadsheet of stores, please? And thanks.
Sure. I will post it into the chat, and then you can share it.
Yeah. I mean,
Marvin,
I got it.
Marvin is very easily contactable and very willing to give out that information.
Yeah, and that's mad cool. And here's another thing, guys. Anyone who's listening who's going to contact these stores, if you can add to that list, that's also important. You know what I mean? So if you can add to that list and share that with everybody, because, especially with Marvin, because he's the one that's sharing that information with you or with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wide open. So I've got it set up so it can be edited. So if people want to add to the list, feel free. I'm pretty much adding 4 to 5 stores somewhat a week, sometimes 10 or more. In the upcoming month, we're going to hit that international one. I mean, I've got stores in Africa. I got stores all over the world that are interested. The only thing that's going to stop us, and Jay can probably attest to the shipping charges. We have to figure out a way to ship things. Places.
If I can add to that with the shipping stuff,
yeah.
I know I don't know how many of you guys use stamps.com. I don't I'm not plugging them or anything like that, but I know when I've had international orders, right? They have a shipping center. So for argument's sake, you send your stuff to this one shipping center and they send it in a big container with other stuff to whatever other point of call, and then use that point of reception as a brand new shipping location to lower the fees. So through stamps.com, I was sending stuff to Japan. I was sending stuff to Germany. I was sending stuff to Australia for under 30, around 20 on average. And I know if you go through the regular post office, that was like $60 to $80, right? Something. So is it great? No, but it'll save
it's better than
customer. Yeah.
So
if there's some way to,
if you use PayPal is switching the ship station. I don't know if anybody uses PayPal. So that's going to give some benefit to that too. But like you said, the problem I had with the post office, not only was it expensive, they couldn't even find the address I was sending to. I had to actually Google the local post office for them to find the address to the person I was trying to send to. I tried to send a package 2 times, and they kept coming back saying the address didn't exist.
Yeah, I can't stand the post office.
Yeah, what country?
UK.
Oh, gotcha. All right, Mr. Carlos, how do you feel about it?
Well, right now I am in a self-imposed limbo because I'm really waiting to get the new Remarkables out before I start doing anything again as far as uh, pushing any of the product that I have. I'm thinking of I'm planning to redo American Revere. Uh, Team Supremus is right now being essentially expanded. So that's kind of everything's kind of in a holding pattern right now. So as soon as I get those, the backers get their Team Supremus, which those who didn't back the handbook will be getting those by the end of the month. And then by the end of next month, those who did back the handbook will be getting those as well. So once that's out, then I can start thinking about the second Kickstarter, my deal with Diamond. So at this point, that's kind of where I'm just kind of in limbo right now, trying to get new Remarkables out. Once I'm done with that, then I can start hitting the digital stores and putting it up on my website and all of that. But at this point, it's just everything's in limbo until I can actually get the new Remarkables Kickstarter fulfilled. Then I can start thinking of expanding.
Gotcha. So when am I going to get my books, bro? Huh? What's going on?
Yeah. So hopefully you'll be getting it at the beginning of. Did you back the handbook, or were you just the regular book?
I think I just got the regular book.
Yeah. So everybody who did the regular book, I'm just waiting for the cards to come in. I redid them, so that's the delay with the cards. But as soon as the cards come in, then I'll be sending those who again didn't back the handbook will be able to get yours probably more than likely at the beginning of February, and then the rest will have to wait till the end of the month.
Gotcha. All right, no, it's cool.
You love your cards, so I'm not sending it without your trading cards.
I want my trading cards. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. I think. Well, you should be getting. Did you back my last project? I think
I did.
All right, so you'll be getting your stuff probably in the next week. So, yeah.
And I just need to know about because I know your wife has hers, but I get really confused as to what I backed already and what is come. Because you guys have a lot of trades, so it's like I never know what I already backed and what, unless I pull them out of my box.
If you're not sure, just get them all again. That's the problem solved.
There you go. But all right, well, it'll be another month before I put out another project. So I'll give everybody a little space to breathe. So
there we go.
But just a little, not much, you know. Mr. Rosario, what do you got?
Yeah, what's the question?
How much wood to the woodchuck could chuck wood?
Exactly. So much for paying attention.
Yeah.
Do you got the question? Or do you really need it? I'll give it to you.
Oh, fuck. I'm thinking of a woodchuck right now. How do you reach consumers? Is that it?
Well, no. Now, what is the most effective way you have used to get your product in the hands of customers?
Okay, so the most effective way was pre-pandemic, and that was hand selling at conventions. I will say about 70% of my annual revenue came from conventions, and since we haven't done any, I've been fucked. And God's honest truth. I thought I had a solution last year, and that went belly up. And I'm working with a couple dudes right now who have got their heads on straight, and hopefully we can make some inroads and trailblaze the way for for other indie guys. But you know, the convention was my thing. I don't know the online stuff. I'm not a podcaster. You know, I hang out with you guys and stuff like that. But this is more of a chill out session. This is not something where you know, I'm totally invested in talking business. I'm just here to hang out. As you see, I'm having a few beers, but this is how I am at cons. You know, I'm very approachable. I get people to understand the product, and that's how I move the product. You know, we'd go up and down the coast, go as far out as Chicago to do shows, and anything I could pack in the trunk. That's how we did it, and we build up our newsletter, and you know, we get revenue from the people who were on the newsletter. Not a lot, which was weird, because at one point I had almost 4,000 people on the newsletter, but I was only bringing in $400 or $500 when I would launch a product, right? So I mean, that's what the 10% rule. But it was skewed. Some people, you know, would drop $1.80 on a thing, and some people would drop, you know, 5 to 20. So even though it's 10%, it's the disparity between people purchasing up the newsletter. So I never really figured out the online thing, and that's why I've been lost, right now. You know, I mean, we've got product in a holding pattern, but I don't want to put product out there when I really don't have a handle on how business is done right.
I agree, because I did 3 cons this last year, and I made more money at those 3 cons than I've done on the online, because my stuff is online. It's there. It's online to be purchased, and I advertise, and I bought Facebook ads for it, but it just hasn't really gained that much traction. I go to a con and I end up selling 2-3 times what I've been able to sell online. So I don't know what it is, or I haven't cracked that code yet.
How are you reaching people online? Sales?
I'm sorry, Marvin. What's up?
How are you reaching people online to do sales?
Facebook, Twitter,
Carlos.
and Facebook ads.
Okay. I'm finding that sales are videos now. YouTube, TikTok, any of those channels are where you're getting your sales from. So shows like these, other shows and things like that are where those sales are at now. I have been on a few YouTube channels and was getting 50, 60 sales for being on those channels while I was on them. I don't think Facebook and Twitter is anything for us anymore, because we don't have the ad revenue to break their algorithms. You're not reaching enough people when you're putting out those ads for it to matter. You're only reaching 15 to 20 people, maybe get up to like 50 or 60, but like those algorithms are killer for anyone who's doing anything independent, because you're not spending enough money on the ads to get to push it enough.
When you say that, do you mean generating new ads, or doing things where you're trying to target those who already follow you and their friends?
It seems like it's both. Like, even if you're targeting the people who do follow your pages, like, so if I send messages out for my page, I've got about over 2,000 people on there, and you've got more than that. 10% of the people are getting those messages. It's because it tells you what the algorithm is hitting. You're not hitting any of those people, and it's sad. It used to hit more people on Facebook than you did before. But like I said, I'm finding Instagram to be a better haunt for me than either Facebook or Twitter now. I pretty much abandoned Twitter pretty much altogether.
Now you mentioned TikTok.
Yes.
Have you tried that?
That's my next thing, but I see a lot of activity for people and them getting a lot of sales on that and whatnot too. WhatsApp. Sorry, a lot of anything that you have full and total interaction with a person, or someone is interacting with you and they're seeing you physically, or there's video, or there's video gets more attention than text. Mm-hmm. Is what I'm seeing now, is that's where the audiences are. That's where they're flowing to, is that people have given up on social media as far as reading something. They want to see activity.
I have to agree with that because I've noticed that for my page for the radio show, the numbers have gone down significantly within the past year. Like it tells you, you reach this many people, and all of a sudden when they changed whatever they changed in Facebook, it just like cut in half. It's crazy.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, Mark, it's your turn, so go for it.
So I have had the fortune of getting 2 comics published in my lifetime. The first one I sold at San Diego Comic Con, and the second one I sold at New York Comic Con. So the third one, which is the one that's coming out this year, as I've mentioned before, it's up to the publisher. He wants to go through Diamond, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But the fact that people forget that the biggest thing about an independent creator at a convention is that beyond just selling your product, you're selling yourself. And the people who engage the customers and talk to them, those are the ones that get the sales, not the people that are just staring down, drawing, or just or they forget that you're a one-man selling machine. So you're the guy. There's this one guy. I don't remember his name, but I've seen him at every single New York Comic Con that I've been to, selling the same books.
Thank you. My name is.
And so you don't want to take the credit because I'm going to say I got the books because he got me on the sale. Seemed like a nice guy. I did not like the books. But every year he's selling. Yeah, it's not you. Exactly. Every year he's selling because he is standing up. He is engaging. I would say out of all the people I've known throughout the years, he was probably one of the most out there to reach out and talk to people persons. So he's just, he's doing the fries. You want fries with that? He's hitting everybody. And I watch him sometimes. Like, oh, this guy's doing quite well.
Selling those.
I'll tell you who it is after we go off the air.
Okay, so what's his name again?
I don't know his name, but I can describe him. You're like, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
what's the name of the book?
I can't even tell you that. I tell you what the book's about, but I can't even tell you his name. I just know it was that guy, and I see him has the same. He's had the same banner for however many years. It's the same books. I don't even think he made new books. It's the same books, year after year.
Is his first name Rob?
His name is not Rob, as far as I remember.
Is his middle name D?
Does his character's a feet? So let me give you a quick tip on Diamond and stores. Call every store you can, every one of them, and give them that order code. You're going to sell because it's the first issue. People are going to gravitate to issue number 1. That's a seller. It's always going to sell. It's the issue 2 that's going to grab you. You have to recontact every one of those stores that you contacted on issue 1 with issue 2. You have to recontact them on issue 3. You have to stay in their ear, because what ends up happening is that people forget. It's not coming out monthly. People are going to forget that they even ordered the book until it shows up.
Right.
Stay on them. You have to stay on them.
Let me ask you, Marvin. Do you think is it more effective to call or to email, or is it equal? Do you think?
It depends on the store. Sometimes I'll call and they'll say, "Hey, shoot me an email." Sometimes I'll email and they'll say to call. So it's up in the air. And I've had people say, "Hey, contact me on Facebook. Hey, contact me on Twitter. Hey, hit me on Instagram." It's and like I said before, like I said that I've talked to you guys. That's what we're going to dig into. That's what we need to know. We need to know from each and every one of these stores, how do you want us to contact you? Because I've got people who are annoyed. I've heard from people who say that they called a store and the guy pretty much cussed them out for calling.
Gotcha. And what is it? He's like should have contacted me on Twitter instead of calling, right?
No, it's pretty much the same. He pretty much told them, "Don't call my store."
So on the spreadsheet, do you have call, Twitter, TikTok person?
No, because I can't really capture that information yet. I will be capturing that information soon.
Okay. No, I mean, if you're working in sales, it might be good to work out that sell. You know, it's a call to, because then if you can build up a list
Yes.
on Facebook and say, okay, I contact all those guys that way and then this way, and then just email this group.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
emails
really,
get lost. Emails go into spam folders. I had an email drop into a spam folder, and the guy contacted me 6 months later saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed your email. Can I still get your book?" So it happens,
Mhm.
man. It's a toss up, and you're taking a chance no matter what you do.
right. Gotcha. Joe, I know you've been chomping at the bit. What you got? What you got?
Yeah, you know how I am. I'm Mr. Diversified when it comes to this type of thing here.
Oh yeah.
You're like a stockbroker in comics.
hmm And everybody mentioned great things here. However, I do have to kind of pour like a bucket of ice water on some of it. There is not a catch-all approach to get people to buy your stuff. There's going to be people that will only buy your stuff when you're at a show. There's going to be people that always buy your stuff on Comixology. There's going to be always people that want some type of online method to buy your stuff. There's going to be some people that want to go to a comic book store to buy your stuff. When you meet people, you have to set up your distribution lanes to their benefit, one way or the other. You know, I've been with Comixology for close to since 2010, so almost a decade with Comixology. Before that, I was with Robiz. Even before I was with Comixology, I used to go from comic book show to comic book show to comic book show, and then do consignment with local stores here. There's no one catch-all. There's no one catch-all. You could do all the advertising you want on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, in person, and everything like that. But for you to reach that person that really wants the stuff, you have to make certain that where you are located at for them to buy your stuff is accessible and distinct and easy to use. Period.
Now,
Yeah.
when you sell to your local retailers, right? What are you doing to entice them to buy the books? Are you giving them are they paying you up front? Are they doing consignment? Are you bagging and boarding? Like what are you doing to make it attractive to them?
Well, when I first got my books in stores, what I typically do was I would go in and ask them, hey, can I do a comic book signing here? This, that, and the other. They was like, okay, fine, come on in, and we don't have anything going on in this day. So, they see me around this, that, and the other, frequent their stores. So I bring my books in. They see the amount of people that I bring through the doors because I advertise my comic book signing. They see the sales from it. So at that point, 9 times out of 10, they would do a 50-50 consignment to hold your books there.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is with that is most stores don't keep good bookkeeping. And a lot of times you won't see your money ever again.
Right.
And that's what happens. So that's the reason why I'm glad that Marvin has a list where now you could go and pitch to the stores directly, where you could actually give them more of a wholesale approach, where you could get your books into a store for like pennies off of printing costs. So let's say if it costs you like $250 to print like your 24-page colored book,
Right.
you might tell them, hey, we'll give you 20 copies or 30 copies at maybe like $275 a copy. That way you can still sell it at our cover price of $350 and you still make your money off of it.
But what are you making on a quarter per unit? Nothing.
Again, that's the thing. That's the thing about it with distribution here. You're not going to make the same type of money as you would do for yourself through your own website or at a show.
Right. So
you're going to end up losing money in some form or some fashion. Whether it is hauling the stuff from show to show, that costs money. That gets taken off of the back end. Same thing for shipping. If you do actual online sales. You have to worry about shipping. Some form or some fashion, you're going to end up losing some money. But the thing is, you control that price point. And you have to make your book attractive to those stores. By you selling them maybe at a quarter above printing cost, that gets eyes on your product, where that person now has another option. They have that store and they could come to you.
Right. If you can
opening up that avenue to come directly to you, for you can get your higher price point, or to quibble over how much I'm selling over to a brick and mortar store.
You know what? If you're only going to do it for a quarter book, don't even try to go into stores. And that was my business plan from the beginning. All right. And it's only now that certain opportunities are popping up. Consignment is a waste of time. I'm sorry, 100%. You said it yourself a moment ago, where you know, you may lose the money. Not only are you going to lose the money, you're going to waste time calling, right? Getting stopped by gatekeepers, and then finally giving up. So don't even waste the fucking time, dude. Take that energy and put it someplace else. I mean,
but at the same time, are you getting eyes on your product by giving up at that point? That's my whole thing. It's like you always have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is what is going to get the eyes on my product, and at what cost will it cost me as an individual? Because that's going to lead to my question when JD gets to it, because I have a very deep question.
So
that people are not ready for.
Let me go through some of these real quick.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, you need people need to really think about is the cost of printing the book and the cost on that cover. Do not shortchange yourself. Don't try to match Marvel, DC, and Image. I know McFarlane is selling Spawn at $2.99. You can't do that. You can't sell your book at $3.99. Don't undercut yourself. Your book is worth more. $4.99.
You can do it, but it's a bad idea.
Well, yeah, right. But $4.99 on that cover or more is where you need to be at. You need to be telling that store 40%, no more than 40% discount. But what I've found over the years is that if you're moving books in those stores, I've moved to cover price to some stores. They're giving me cover price for the books. It's all about your relationship with those stores. You have to build relationships with the store owner and the people who are buying that books. You start building relationships, and you start to see that those little things that they will start doing for you to make sure your book is moving.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, let me get through some of these. First, we're doing a buy one get one, and also we're setting up a time to actually do a signing.
Very good.
And then she has some of the people who helped on the book are going to be there. Also, are more famous than us. Cool. You have to make that choose as a creator. What's more important, getting your book out there or the money, right? Or the money on the line. I mean, one of the big things for me is it's like Marvin's saying, you have to make a decision, right? Because there's two ways to go. You can either go offset or you can go POD. POD is easy because you can order 10 books, 20 books, whatever you need, right? And then just sell those and be done with it. Or you can go all, but the thing is that you're gonna pay $253 a book for that. Or you can try to order 1,000 or 2,000 books, right? Or try to do something where you get together with a group of guys, a group of people, men, women, whatever. But I just use the royal guys. But get together a group of people who are also like-minded, maybe ordering 2 or 3 books at a time, ordering 3,000 copies a shot, approaching one printer, right? Where maybe you can get those books for 60 cents, right? So then you can sell those books. You can go to your retail, you can mark them at $3.99 and say, yo, I'll give you the book at half off, no problem. Okay? A lot of legwork. If you don't like the physicality of it, because that's the thing, it's gonna be a very physical thing. You're gonna be huffing boxes, man. Do your push-ups. Do your push-ups.
Yes.
know.
I'm not gonna be like part at all, but you know what? Doing POD is the equivalent of swimming in the kiddie pool. It's not. All right. Printing through POD is saying, hey mom, look what I can do. All right. If
Well,
you
hold,
wanna
hold, hold
believe
on.
in your-
That's
No.
not true.
Oh man, come on. If you want to talk business, right? Put your big boy pants on. All right.
Mhm.
Start printing up offset and find a way to move that product. All right.
Yep.
Get it for those 60 cents per unit.
Mhm.
All right. Get those 3,000 units and huff it to those conventions. And even though you got a $5 cover price on it, you throw that for sale tag on it, convention
Mhm.
specialty price, all right, for $3, and you're still making over 200% margin on these books. All right.
Yeah.
And yes,
Two for
that'll
$9 right
mitigate
there.
the cost of travel, that'll mitigate the cost of lodging, and that'll mitigate the cost of the show if you put on your big boy fucking pants and you move your product.
I
Yeah.
totally
But you have
agree.
to have your big boy pants on before that because you have to have some place to store that volume first. That's
Okay.
the other part
Okay.
of the problem with production. And that's the
In
one
New
thing
York
that
City,
people
what
have to understand. It's just not about printing
storage is
3,000
great.
books. It's about printing 3,000 books. It's about printing and having it safe where it is not going to get damaged, where you can go and push those books at stores and make, sell them out the back of your car if need be and do all this other stuff. Overhead is always going to be a problem in business no matter what. So when you say put on that big boy pants, you have to make certain that your big boy pants also includes the overhead in dealing in that aspect in those procedures.
Yeah, you
Right.
you have to
And-
get your printing costs down. You have to.
Right.
That's it's killer. If you're spending $3 on a book, you have to charge $7 for it. I mean, you
Right.
can't just go into a situation like I'm just going to lose money. It's going to
Exactly.
hurt you. It's going to hurt you in the long run because you're going to give up because you're like, I'm not pulling anything in. What's the point?
Right. That's why we're selling books on Kickstarter for $10. Right.
POD is good for Kickstarter and cons only. To me, that's Kickstarter and cons, that's POD. If you're thinking beyond that, it's going to have to be offset, and you're going to have the money and the space to
Yep.
make it happen. But if you want to go beyond Kickstarters and cons, that's
Yeah.
what you got to do. That's the next step.
Mhm. Let me ask you guys who here has enough books to sleep on or has gotten enough books to sleep on? Because I know I have. I could make 3 beds.
You mean use as your box springs? Yeah.
Box springs, mattress, bro, stacked from floor to ceiling.
Not I. That's why I said I
Yes.
was in limbo, because I have my offset budget, but
Mhm.
that's not going to happen until I get my orders from Diamonds or for that. So that's sitting there. I'm not ready to make that leap yet.
Mhm.
That's in the future. That's more the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023. Until that time, I'm creating product so that when the time comes, I'm able to get it out there.
Right. I mean, and that's probably your best option is that build up a whole entire run of books, and then you can just hit the ground running almost, and you always have product available.
Exactly.
Yeah. Michael, you have something to add? Because it looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I was just agreeing. I mean, I laughed when about the print on demand is the kiddie pool. It's like because I think right now, because I was going to say what Joe said. I mean, where are you keeping the stuff before you're like me, you live in an apartment. I don't
I
have
live
the
in an apartment
space.
too. I'm not talking out the side of my ass and saying this is not stuff I use. Well, I got a lot of merch in the storage unit. I have to.
Sounds like somebody's got a plane taking off.
Yeah.
But
That is not me.
JD, you're not spending close to $300 for a storage area to maintain that inventory like some
No,
other people are. That's why I kept
He's not
saying
going
there's overhead that comes with
Exactly.
playing that game.
He's knocking on his neighbor's doors and saying, "Hey, you guys got any space for books?"
Big boy pants come with big buckets.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, I don't think.
Pockets at all. I don't have big pockets, but you know what? I know how to set a budget. You know, I know how to manage my money. I mean, we haven't.
You got to have money to manage money.
Right. I haven't done a con in a long fucking time. I haven't run a Kickstarter in over a year. But that doesn't mean that I'm fucking dead broke. That doesn't mean that I have I still got pennies in the war chest to use, to pay the team, right, and to pay for expenses.
Are you doing shows this year?
I mean, you gotta, right? What's up?
Are you doing shows this year?
I was, dude. There was supposed to be the Puerto Rico Comic Con was next week, but that got pushed to April. WinterCon was also this month. That also got pushed. I don't know if that's the same time as the Puerto Rico Comic Con.
WinterCon is March now.
Yeah.
WinterCon is in March.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so you were saying you do your better sales at cons. You're up there. You're selling, but attendance hasn't been there at shows lately.
Right.
More. I mean,
But
people are going to cons. So, but what? Yeah, no, I know you pre-COVID, but now if you're gonna do a show and you're paying to get into a show, your table, your travel, whatever it is, are you going to be able to make your money back selling at shows when the attendance is still low? Even if you have a 500 people coming, it's still lower than most cons.
We did 10 shows.
Well, dude,
last
if
year.
it's a 500 show, that's a shit show. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta eat that.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying if a show normally gets a couple of thousand, it's getting like 500 right now.
Well, we did 10 shows last year, and the attendance was pretty high at these shows. Even like here in Pittsburgh and Still City Con, there's 3 a year, and it was packed all 3 times last year. And JM was also attest to Terrific Con being pretty packed when we were up in Connecticut.
Yes, I did hear
Yeah,
about
Terrificon was, but I will say that after the summer, sales just plummeted into the ground. During the summer, things were good, but once we got into the fall, nobody was spending money anymore.
Well, I mean, would that be because we did a Christmas show, a Northeast Con, and that one was pretty good. I think we did one here in Pittsburgh that was really bad, and like the attendance was so low because they had so many. They were there to see people from a TV show, and the way they had the show set up is that there was an aisle leading right back to where these people were at, and they just went down that aisle and never came back around. So we were in an aisle where no one, like, we didn't see a person, but 2 or 3 people walked there the whole day. It was crazy.
Good time memories. Good time memories.
But I mean, like I said, it depends on the show. I mean, I'm feeling that like Terrific Con and Baltimore, those shows are going to be big.
The 3 that I did, I made great money. People were actually spending we're buying those indie books. So more than I even like pre-pandemic, people were coming in and spending the money because I guess people have more income for during the pandemic. I don't know what it is, but I've had those 3 shows were some of the best shows that I ever did. And of course, attendance wasn't pre-pandemic, but people were spending money.
Yeah, like even Big Apple Con, people were hunting for indie books. They were hunting for them. They came up looking for more indie books.
Yeah. All right, let me post up a couple of these.
We got a great network here.
Yeah,
we got
hold on.
Let me. Where we can ask what shows they've done before. How did you do last year, right? And we can gauge. Okay, is this something we want to do? Is this something we think is going to be worth it when we include our travel costs and our lodging and stuff like that? And do we have enough product where the margin is high enough that we could turn over a profit?
And also
people don't.
Also, it's like, look, if we're local to the shows, it's much easier for us. Like, we're going to do New York Comic Con. It's easy for, for myself, because we're local to it, JM probably as well. Anybody coming out of town is going to have a tough time because, hotels in this town are expensive. Just on a day-to-day, forget, they won't even register New York Comic Con is going on. They're just going to this is just New York prices. Sorry, So yeah, that's always a thing. But hold on, let me hold on. Wait. Chill, Jen.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Go. Hold on. Let me finish this. Let me read these. To be honest, look at many printers. Went to the local printer, showed him the amount, and he's going 5 cents cheaper for each book because they need the money. So that's also another thing. You go to a local printer, maybe they need that bump up, and maybe they'll give you a better price. So that's what Trish is going on. Uh-oh, Rosario, you're in trouble. POD. I'm going to come over there and smack Rosario with my 4 issues that I couldn't have done outside of POD. Right? Trish says, "Watch out!" Oh yeah, here comes Daphne. So I told my kid to move out. I need a room to fulfill our Kickstarter and store books. I might be a bad mom. And then she says her kid is 22 years old. So there you go. Time to go. There you go. And then Joe says, good point, Daphne. There you go. All right. So.
Bring this Daphne person. Let me see this Daphne person in person.
Don't tempt me. I'll send her a link. She'll let you know in person. But no. I mean, it is true though. It's sometimes that's the only way to get these things done is to go through POD. But it's again also we're selling at a much higher margin. You know what I mean? So we're making that money. We're getting 200 or 300% of what we're putting in, but we have to do it that way because it's the only way to make it. So, But all right. So I think we've beaten that horse for a little while. Anybody else got anything to add to that before we move on? No? Good, Joe. You're up.
Okay, so here's the question. Here we're going to go kind of sort of in bizarre world. Let's just say crowdfunding doesn't exist.
Right.
Would you see as many creators come out here and make that leap, putting true skin in the game behind their book, like we see now in crowdfunding, in this crowdfunding era? The reason I asked that question is because somebody put it to me that there's too many people who are trying to figure out ways using crowdfunding to put zero skin in the game. Absolute zero.
Yes.
I mean, going on one platform like a GoFundMe to say, hey, I need to hire this artist, give me X amount of dollars to hire this artist. And then once they get that GoFundMe money, they hire the artist and everything. Here they come jumping out here on Kickstarter or Indiegogo with 5 pages talking about, hey, help me get this book created. And then after that is done, they get the money and people still don't see the books or anything to that magnitude, mainly because they're not trying to put any skin in the game.
All right, cool. We will start with Mr. Michael. What do you think?
Well, I don't think people would be doing that. Would be going to create. I mean, I think if you're a creator and you have a story to tell, you're going to find a way to do it. But I think the amount of Kickstarters and Indiegogos that have been coming out is so many. It's inspiring other people to do it and to work. But I will say I do agree that a lot of people are trying to get away with doing stuff for absolutely no money. I've actually been approached by indie companies. I won't mention anything, even some creators, to ask me to draw their books. And one of the things that they're doing is, we want you to draw the book, give us 5-10 pages so we can start advertising. And then they don't want to pay me until they know they got the Kickstarter funded or something. I'm like, no, I always say, this takes time. It takes me a day to pencil and ink a page, and then if you want me to color it, there's another day, and then lettering and all this stuff, whatever it is. You figure it's 2 days with pencils, inks, and color and lettering for me to do a page, right? But you want me to do it for nothing. I mean, there's a lot of... I've been approached over the pandemic by 6 people and 2 indie publishers to draw their stuff. And they wanted to wait until they got something funded to pay me. I even had a friend. I don't talk to the friend anymore. He's like, oh yeah, let's do this, and that was one of the things. He tried to constantly get free work out of me, and once in a while I'd send him something because it's for the holidays, it's going out to kids, and I do a lot of work with kids. So okay, you know.
Now-
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Can I ask you, Lau, is he offering you a 50-50 deal as a creator?
No,
Or
he
is
was offering me page payment. Like, this is what rate we would agree on.
So he wouldn't share it with the
So like
IT.
an internet
Wow,
back,
he's
like an
old,
internet
wow.
backdoor deal.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It
Bro.
would be paid. It's I I don't like that situation, but I do like, just getting back to your question. I think the crowdfunding has inspired people to do stuff, but if you're a creator, you're going to find a way to create and get it out there. The internet is great, whether you give it away for free or digital sales or something. It's it can be done, but I don't think there would be as many without the crowdfunding right now.
Gotcha. Marvin?
Yes.
What do you think?
Agreed.
I think that what you're looking at is just a return to the past. Hey, can you work on this book for exposure? I mean, that's where it's almost at. Is like you're just trying to you're building up your own portfolio at the expense of someone else.
Mhm.
And now the difference is that now you can take that and get paid from it. So now you're not only are you taking advantage of someone, now you're getting money off their back and giving them nothing for it. I mean, it's no different than what's happened before. It's bad for business, and it's going to start hurting other people who are looking to do those kind of things and get things done like it did before, where all of a sudden no one was like, everyone wanted money up front and then they would disappear or things like that. So now you've got another problem that's getting ready to brew, because now if people keep doing that, all these crowdfunding platforms are going to change their rules. They're going to say, oh, you need to show us this completed book before this completed item or this completed product before you can submit your crowdfunding.
Exactly. But is that a bad thing?
I mean, at this point, I would probably say no. It may not be, because you've had a lot of people bail out. I had a friend of mine did a Kickstarter for a 3D printer, and they bailed out. They said they didn't have enough money. They didn't get enough money from the crowdfunding. So I mean, why did you ask for enough?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came time for them to fulfill, we don't have any money. We spend it all.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
So
there
they
was
just
that
declared bankruptcy?
that cooler, the coolest cooler. Do you guys remember that story on
Mhm.
Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the cooler that had the blender, the radio, dish plates, all of this shit.
Mhm.
Right? They went belly up. People sued. The court said they had to give back at least 20% of the funds, and the company only gave back 5% of the funds, if that. And that was over a 5-6 year process.
Yeah.
Some people didn't even receive $20 for backing for a $300 cooler. So there's going to be those horror stories, right? And unfortunately, that's the platform that Kickstarter is.
Yeah.
How do we navigate that as consumers?
Mhm.
How do we navigate that as indie publishers?
You can't.
How do we separate
Yeah.
ourselves?
You got to put faith. You can't, because that's the new rules. Kickstarter already changed their rules. So and they before you even back something, there's a disclaimer right there saying you are backing at your own peril, essentially.
Mhm.
The person does not owe you anything. So that used to be where you could tell Kickstarter, hey, this person just ripped me off, and Kickstarter would tell them either give them a refund or you're banned from Kickstarter. That no longer exists. Now with Kickstarter, you are at your own peril. You click the button, you back it, and they tell you before you ever back it, at your own peril, back this, because we don't owe you anything. And it says Kickstarter don't owe you any money, and this person who is running this campaign doesn't owe you any money. So that's where we are with Kickstarter. So
No, actually, that's most crowdfunding campaigns, because most crowdfunding platforms, legally so, has moved over to a escrow format. They're just a place to hold the money
Right.
until the campaign is over with.
Mhm.
That's all they do.
Yep.
That disclaimer is their legal way of how can I say, removing themselves out of the equation
Right.
for any possible lawsuits, whether if the campaign was fraudulent or not.
Right.
Because
That way
their
they-
platform is a means for them to make money as a place of escrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just them covering their bases. I mean, it's as a business, it makes sense, right?
Mhm.
We can all agree on it. They're just covering their own.
Right. I mean, but that all works until someone hires a high-powered lawyer to go after the people, like depending. I mean, if one of these Kickstarters or whatever ends up funding for $10 million and nothing comes of it, somebody's going to hire a high-powered lawyer to go after them, and they're going to pull Kickstarter in as a witness and probably take them.
Yep. Exactly. So Carlos, did you answer the question?
No, I didn't.
Go ahead.
So mine. So I've been on both ends. So I started before the crowdfunding. So my first book I did it on my own, and I hired the artists and got it all done and put it out at cons and digitally, blah blah blah. So now it came along and I've had success with it, and it's been great, but it's also flooded now with people who are doing that. When I first started Kickstarter, I did do the Kickstarter with having a 6-page preview first, and then when it got funded, then we finished it off. But at no point have I ever told an artist, hey, can you produce these 6 pages for free? And then if it gets backed, then I'll pay you. So in the beginning, I would pay the artist for 6 pages, put it up on Kickstarter, and then if it got funded, then we worked on the final however many pages to get it done. But of course, that was taking forever. So with this most recent one, the book was pretty much close to done before I even took it to Kickstarter. So of course, COVID put some kinks in getting it out. But in the original on the Kickstarter, the original release date, we haven't even hit that yet. So technically, once I get it out, it'll still be ahead of time, despite the supply chain problems that have arisen. But yeah, if you take it away, if you take Kickstarter and all of those away, it's going to be the indie population is going to be culled, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, because they're going to disappear. They're going to go extinct pretty much overnight. So, except for the people who were already in it, like myself, who were motivated enough to get the thing created before this whole crowdfunding thing came into play.
Yeah.
It's just made it to where I've been able to put out more product over time. So do I see it going away? No. But can there be major changes to it? Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it'll continue to where indie creators will get better at delivering. JD, you
I deliver, bro.
And to be honest, just one quick thing. To be honest, most of the Kickstarters that I've backed, and I'm a super backer, I'm over 100. I rarely have I had to wait a super long time for my books. For the most part, within a 2 to 6 month period, in that time period, I get my stuff delivered. But I haven't had really anything where I haven't gotten. Irony is one of our guests that we've had. I'm still waiting for their product, which I will not name. But yeah, we've had one of our guests that we've had actually more than once. I'm still waiting for that product, but
It's not me.
But JD is also not one of them.
No. All right, Mr. Rosario. What do you think?
Yeah, no. So Joe's talking about the fisherman, right? And if it wasn't indie comics, I'm sure they find some other genre to try to get people to back whatever dreams or ideas that are out there. I think there are people using too much skin in the game. I don't know. I see a lot of crowdfunding projects out there that are just like straight TNA, man. And you know, sometimes
That's
a different kind of skin.
Type of skin. That's a different type of skin, dude.
That's a different type of skin, bro. But out there, you know what I mean? And it's like this is not only fans. You know what I'm saying? You wanna sell your titty teasing pics? No problem. I get it. Just don't do it on the cover of a comic. Do it someplace else. Whatchamacallit? But yeah,
it makes tons of money though.
It does. It does.
Tons.
I wish I was fat enough to show. You know what I mean? Because I'm the wrong kind of fat. I'm not fat enough that I got fucking tits, but I got enough fucking fat that it's hard to get up in the morning. But whatever. Whatchamacallit? But yeah, there's always going to be people who are trying to mine the miners, and and that's just something you gotta ride the wave on, man.
This is true. All right, cool. JM, how do you feel about it?
All right, so I feel like two things. On one hand, I feel like Joe's question is too cynical. I feel like everybody's reaction to Kickstarter isn't cynical enough. Do I have that right? Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Joe's question isn't cynical enough, and the reaction to Kickstarter is too cynical. So to Joe's question, do I think that people would be doing things without any skin in the game? They've done it for years. I mean, that's why we have those print shops showing up at conventions, or artists that have never done a book in their life just trying to sell fan art to make as much money and take eyes away from everybody that's actually selling books. Kickstarter would be rife with it. And if there wasn't Kickstarter, sorry, Cirilla, of course they would be doing it. So yeah, I mean, Kickstarter is not exclusive to somebody just trying to get in to make a buck off of it because they think it might be the avenue to get in. On the other hand, with the Kickstarters, I mean, it is called Kickstarter, not Kickender. So, like, your book should still be in development. You're getting a kickstart to get the book going. And, I just ran a Kickstarter, so I don't want to make anybody nervous, but I am sure that there are people that do scam people out of money. But, I don't just back Kickstarters for comics. I've done, a great example is I've kickstarted video games, and there's no way they're producing a game up front before they launch a Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. They probably put out a demo, maybe some concept art, whatever, and then they're looking for the funds to be able to develop the game. So, I mean, are there times where the game doesn't get developed? Yeah, I'm sure what happens is it gets held up in development hell. You wind up with the funds getting spent legitimately, but the game didn't get produced, I mean, I'm sure it happens, and yeah, that's where the buyer risk comes in. That's where I say everybody maybe is being a little too cynical. Yeah, I'm sure there's people that scam people out of money, and I don't think when it comes to comics, even though, yeah, they're expensive to produce. And, I do the arting at the art and the writing. So, like, I know both ends of it. But, yeah, I mean, like, if you're... Yeah.
Didn't Joe Madureira do a video game on Kickstarter?
Yes.
And did that fully fund and come out? Was that released?
Yep. No? Yep. Yes, it did. I played the game. I actually funded that one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So, I mean, the game was pretty good.
It was the Battle Chasers game. Because people keep asking them. So there's a comic that was with a big publisher that just never finished, and Joe Mad went into video games, and is not primarily a comic artist anymore. But people keep asking about Battle Chasers.
He's coming back, though. He's coming back with Battle Chasers. But he's not doing the art. He's doing the writing, no art.
Right, of course. Because why would you if you don't have to? Right? No, that's not true. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I there are definitely Kickstarter isn't a perfect thing, and now they're getting into NFTs, and I don't even know if I'm going to keep going with the platform. But the thing is, there isn't going to be a perfect solution, and there's always going to be people out there scamming people out of money. Wherever money can be made, like look at it this way: as indie creators, we should see that as like good news. Because if somebody's out there trying to scam people money in indie comics, that means that there's money to be made in indie comics, right? So that's the way I look at it.
That's the silver lining in the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
There's your cynical take right there. Let me read a couple of these. To be honest, as a buyer of comics, we now spend more on Kickstarters than at the local comic shop or on shows we watch. Still not doing a bunch of cons in person. Oh, that makes me mad. I paid for everything up front. I put all overtime and extra work bonus to get this book out. Only reason to kickstart is to get more eyes on it than in my local area. Talking to many people a lot, said they got paid after funding was successful and on whatever platforms. And then Daphne puts out, why would anyone trust someone who won't put up their own money up front to support their own book? Even Kickstarters, best practice say that no one should be using Kickstarter to fund their book 100%. And I have a bunch of porn. I'm telling you, Mr.
He's back.
That's Jeff Rosario's comment about the other type of scam.
I think so. That's what it is.
The algorithms came through. At least we know we're working.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus. Yeah, if I ever find you, Mr. Porn Person on the street, you may not want to tell me you're the porn person. Yeah. All right. But okay, cool. Mark, you're up next. What do you think?
Well, I look at it this way. You remember when Netflix was the only game in town, and now everybody and their dog has their own streaming service? That's how Kickstarter is. As if somebody said, hey, we can make money on here, everybody else is just going to jump on the bandwagon and try to get as much money as possible. And we've seen streaming services fold in the past 2 years. That's come out, nobody watched it, and then they folded up. So if there was no Kickstarter, somebody would have found something else to put out there.
Yeah. All right, cool. Now, as far as myself, I mean, all right. For years, we've seen, like I've been in the game a long time. I've been in since 91, right? So now we would play a game going to shows, right? The game was, who would be here next year, right? So we would go to shows, right? And I would see 5, 6 guys, 5, 6 new publishers, maybe more. Sometimes we get up to 10. And they all got number 1. And you see them, they just got the boxes from whatever printer they use. That's mounted them behind them, and you see these sad people at the table with issue number 1s. Mark knows this game. And you go and look. Sometimes I got a friend. He would go to shows to pick up those books, specifically those books. He says, "Bro, this is like indie gold. You're never gonna see this ever again. Watch next year. We'll come back next year, see if issue 2 came out." Nope. No issue 2s. Very rarely. Once in a blue moon, you'll see a guy with issue 2. And then, you got that one standout, he'll come out with issue 3, so on and so forth. And I mean, right. You understand? I'm there too. Rosario, most of us are those guys who stood out, who've been there like, all right, well, no matter what happens, I'm going to keep chugging along. So I think people will still continue, even if Kickstarter didn't exist. Because at the point is like, for me, I've said it before, and I know a lot of people don't agree, is this is my very expensive hobby, right? I got a day job, I do that job, I come home, The only two things I like to do, I like to be with my wife, and I like comics, right? And I especially like producing comics. Reading comics is fun, right? But that actually comes third in line. It's producing comics, making comics. That's the thing I most enjoy, writing. And then reading them and collecting them and doing all that crap, you know. But I mean, no matter what, I think if it's in your heart to do it, you're gonna do it. You know, I mean, that's how I feel about it. Joe, your question, answer it, bro.
Now, the way that I have to answer this question is my journey. It wouldn't have never started if I didn't, put my own money behind it. I mean, 100% behind it. And the further I went along, because I started before crowdfunding even became a thing, it was on the outskirts. It was, kind of like the new thing coming in when I started back in when I actually started publishing professionally at 2008. It was like the new thing that was on the horizon. Nobody knew, which way to go with it, especially for comics is concerned. I looked at it as like, you know what? This is not going to bode well for those who are pretty much going to use that as the crutch to make their books. Because there's no way in the world that somebody is going to back you if you don't put money in yourself. Whether it be, 50%, 80%, or you funding the whole thing yourself. I feel this way about the question. It's more along the lines shows your desire to make certain that that book happens when you put your own money where your mouth is. When you use, granted, it's easy to make money off of these platforms and everything to that magnitude. That's not really the issue here. But it speaks to the volume of that creator. If their bottom line is, I gotta make certain my creation gets out there or gets created, that platform doesn't mean nothing. It will subsidize whatever cost I have to deal with. I got into the point where I treat crowdfunding more or less like pre-sales. Mm-hmm. Only thing I want is just printing now. Why? Because no matter what, that next issue has to get out. And I'm not going to put it in the hands of, well, is there enough fanfare out there to warrant it? I already know that the fans of certain IPs want their next book. My job to make certain that it happens. Yeah, I work another job, but that other job pays for me to make what I make. When I retire from that job, now I could go full steam ahead and do all the true business moves for Agency Studios, for we could make this, like JD was saying, going from a hobby to a business. And that's the key thing. People don't want to look at it as a business. Most of them want to look at it as a hobby. And when you look at it as a business, you're going to have money to make money. Period.
All right, cool. Mr. Mark, you're up, bro. What you got?
So it's actually funny. JD and Joe were actually hitting on what I was going to ask. Hobby, business. When you decide, we've had many independent creators on our show, and I always ask them, "Is there money in comics? Why do you do it?" He goes, "Oh, I love to get my stories out because I want to put my stories out. It's all about the stories." Very rare do I get somebody said, "Yeah, there's money in comics. I'm going to make a business. I'm going to be a millionaire." I never get that answer. So the question is to the panel: at what point do you decide that it's going to be a business, or should you have that mentality from the beginning?
Marvin, you're up.
Did I already answer that one?
Huh?
No. No.
Brand new question. If you remember, Marvin, when I had you on the show, I was like, "Why do you do it?" And you were like, "I do it because I love to create." But we were talking about business. We're talking about business here.
Right.
So the thing is,
should you
put the business head in your?
What's that? What's TV on in here?
So the question is, should you put that business hat on? Is there a point where you should put that business hat on, or should you just continually just make it just to make it? Where should the business come in?
Well, I mean, I have to flip that hat continuously. So I'm doing business, I'm doing creating, I'm doing promotion, I'm doing marketing. I mean, I've got all the hats sitting here on the desk, and I put them on when I need to put them on. I mean, it depends on the person really, because as a creator, sometimes they can't do business, and sometimes they can't promote either. And like we've seen that a lot of times where someone can create a product, but I mean, it's just sitting there because they don't know how to sell it. So, I mean, you have to be a businessman if you want to sell your own product, unless you want to hire somebody to do it for you.
Right. So if you're a creator, before you even write one word for your idea, you're like, all right, I gotta study business. I need to know business before I do this. Or at what point you're along the line is I'm at my first convention. Now I gotta start figuring out business. I'm making my third book. I'm like JD, which is 30 years in and it's still not a business. What point?
I mean, honestly, it depends. Like I said, depends on the person. I don't care how long you've been doing it. Some people just can't do it. They can't. They don't understand the business. They don't. It doesn't vibe with them. They have to have someone else do it for them. So to me, up front, it needs to be done. I mean, at the same time, like I said, that I'm doing it at the same time. Like when I'm creating, I'm still doing business stuff at the same time. But I mean, some people might need to do it up front. They should take some marketing classes or some business classes to get it straightened out. Read some articles on how to sell those hot dogs, man. There's it's out there. It's out there for you, so you might as well take advantage of it. But I mean, I just don't. I wouldn't want to be that person who goes to their first con and is standing there like, how do I sell these things? You've already lost. That's it. It's over with. If you're standing at a table and you're like, I've got this product, how do I sell it? You're done. It's over.
You don't know how many times when I go up and down the aisles, you can just tell that guy's his first convention. He's just learning. You got to talk to them and get him down the road of what you need to do. It's just so weird. You just pick them out.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you got to jump and tackle people across the table. Sometimes, right?
Yes.
But I mean, how do you do that? And I think that once again, like I've been saying, is that this is the things that we need to uncover. We need to have this data out there for these new people coming in here to say that this is what you need to do before you even think about pushing that book out to a person and saying, hey, would you like to buy my book? What are you doing to sell that to the person? Do you have an elevator pitch? Do you even understand your own product? Can you pitch your own product? I mean, you might need help. And I mean, that help needs to be out there for people to say that I can't do it. Please help me. People have to be able to ask for help. And I mean, I'm not ashamed about it. I'll ask for help on anything. I'm not going to beat my head up against the wall to try to figure something out. Right. Wall's going to win every time.
All right. Carlos, what do you got?
I think, of course, it starts as being an idea man. Then it turns into being the hobby. And then eventually it's going to be a business. So obviously there's a buildup that comes with it. Marvin he's with Second Sight. He's in Diamond. It's gone from a hobby to a business for him. So there's no turning back. He's got lots of work to do. And I'm actually, Marvin, I love a lot of those books from Second Sight. Great company, great books.
Thank you.
So if you guys haven't picked them up, please pick them up. They're really cool. But yeah, right now I am right in the intermediate between going from hobby. Right now it's a hobby because I'm building and I'm paying for most of this with my own money. But in the next few months, once I get into Diamond, it's going to be a business. And then I'm either going to handle it and I'm going to make some money and I'm going to be able to have some success with it, or it's not going to happen and I'm not going to give up. But at the same time, it's going to go from being a business to a hobby again. But I think it's just a process going from idea to hobby, and then eventually you're going to get enough momentum, or you're going to say, I'm tired of being where I am, relying on Kickstarters or whatever, and it's time to step up the distribution game, because you don't necessarily have to be diamond. That's my path, but you can take whatever distribution path you want to do. But eventually, once you do take that path, it turns into a business, and you're either going to sink or swim.
Gotcha. Jay, what do you got?
If you don't understand zeros and ones, you're going to lose your shirt, right? And if you can understand how to balance a checkbook, then you got a shot at surviving here. I mean, later on down the road, you're going to have to understand how to build, P&L statements, how to manage your money. But when I first started, this was a hobby, right? I shared a table with a bunch of people. I had a $2 book, and I'm like, at the end of the show, I only made this much money, and if I wanted to do this on my own next time, I need to have more than a $2 book. So that started the process of how to financially protect myself in this. I'm at a point where, is this my full-time gig? I don't fucking know. Does it supplement my income? Yeah, it does. And going back to conventions, it was a great thing where me and the missus would go to shows in different cities, places we probably never went to before, and we had a paid vacation, right? The money that I made at the con paid for whatever we were doing in the town. I'm not out here in mansions and Maseratis. It's not there. But do I make enough with what I know, how to pay the team, how to produce the content for the next book, and how to put a couple bucks in my pocket? Yeah. You need to know how to run a business. You do.
True. All right, cool. Michael, what do you got?
Well, when I started, I don't know if I could ever really call it a hobby. It's just, I've always made comics, and it's what I love, and I'd go out and do shows, but every business is different. I've been parts of so many different businesses over my life, and I've been a freelance illustrator and so since I was 18 years old. Okay, so going in, and I started self-publishing at 21 comics. So going in, I had an understanding of the business, but I didn't understand the business of comics until I started talking with other artists and creators and publishers, understanding what's going on at shows, how to sell at shows. It took a little bit of time, but I understood the business aspect of it going in, but it was never, I don't think it was ever a business or a hobby. It was kind of an in-between thing for me. And then when, because what was it, 97, I started self-publishing. I published for about 5-6 years straight with different books. I stopped due to medical issues, and I was been in and out. I've been working for other people, so I wasn't really running my business. I was running my freelance illustration business. When I started getting back into creating comics again for myself, I attacked it completely differently. I knew my storytelling, I knew my art, that was over to the side. I'm like, I can't do what I did back in 97 or even early 2000s. Conventions have changed. Before that, you would see maybe 2 celebrities at a show. You do like Big Apple Comic Con and Lou Ferrigno's hanging out down there or something. And then now you go to a show and you just pray someone's going to walk down the Artist Alley area, So, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at it as a business. That's why I'm thinking of attacking more digital platforms than actual books right now. I don't think, cons are the way to go for me, at least. But I've changed the way I looked at everything. I've talked with JM about different publishing platforms. About, because what the hell is like Ingram Sparks. I had never used it before. JM walked me through the whole way of putting my children's book together. So there's, how do I use Ingram Sparks now? Right. Or something. So there's different business things I'm constantly learning. And I think if you don't go into it with the right mindset that this is a business, that this could turn into something. Not saying it will, but it could. You're not gonna succeed. It's like Jay just said. You need to know those zeros and ones. I mean, you need to have basic accounting skills. You need to have all that stuff. These days, you need to understand social media. I was lucky enough. I've worked in education for a long time. I've been a college professor. I have taught not just things like storytelling and stuff like that, but I've actually taught social media marketing. So these are things I'm very familiar with. But at the same time, I'm a one-man show, and it's difficult. And then sometimes you got to spend time on one thing as opposed to another. People need to understand you're going into this, and unless you have people helping you, you're not just making comics. You're not just making. You got to understand the printing. You got to understand the advertising, how to sell, whether you're at shows, sell online. I'm building a bunch of product right now. I haven't published a book in maybe, I'm going to say 4 years, but I'm in the process of building product right now, and not just books, other things as well that will go along with the books. I've spent my time looking and seeing what people are doing at shows that I like, that I don't like, watching YouTube videos on different artists and their approach to stuff, just talking on my podcast with people like you guys, or being on podcasts. Everything I listen to, I learn. And that's the one thing I think everybody needs, whether you're in business. Always learn, always look at stuff, see what others are doing, and how do you take what they're doing and use. If it's working for them, will it work for you? Not everything's going to be the same. I may have a different target audience. I do a lot of kid-friendly stuff. I'm not, I like drawing and writing, darker stuff, but the stuff I tend to put out, it's all kid-friendly, So I have a little bit harder, I think, than other artists who are doing like regular superhero stuff or whatever, because how do you hit that kid? Because kids usually aren't the one with the disposable income. It's the parent. So now, even though I want to sell to the kid, I got to figure out, how do I sell to that parent, to get them to give me
gotta
money.
save attorney.
What?
I think you got a better path than we do, Michael. Because you're not just selling to the parent, you're selling to the grandparent, and then you got both of those demographics being pitched by the kid who wants the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that 18 to 24 vaunted age range that business is always talking about. Okay, yeah, but you've got long-term dynamics. If you're catching a kid, and mom and dad and grandma and grandpa feel it's safe enough for them to buy the kid, right? I think you get a better shot than we do. Right? I mean,
Thank you. I didn't think of it that way. No, I appreciate that. I didn't think, every time I go and I put my work out, people pass by. Like, I have a style that's kind of nostalgic, so I'll get adults come, and they'll be like, "Oh, that reminds me of Hanna-Barbera or Bugs Bunny or something like that." So people will come to my table, look at my stuff, like what I do, but they think it's too kid-like, so they don't usually buy. I have to really be a salesman with my books, And that's the other thing. You got to learn the sales. You got to learn everything. So I happen to have been lucky. I'll say this because I know I've been talking a lot. I want to move on to someone else. But I grew up with parents, like, for my childhood, my mom worked in a bank. She understood all that stuff. And then she went on to do some other things. But I learned how to, at a young age, balance checkbooks, do things, because my mom kind of helped me. My dad, his job before he went and became a full-time guidance counselor at a school, he was he worked at a school helping kids who weren't going to college. This is back in the 70s, start their own businesses. So I had my first business in 9th grade. So I learned at, what age is that? 14, 15 years old, how to sell. I was doing retail jobs or whatever, but I would go into the schools and I would sell. I'd go places and I would sell, So I understood at 15 years old what the basics of business. I may have not had a good head on my shoulders yet, but I understood the base. So when I started self-publishing, or when I started freelancing, or whatever the hell it was I was doing, I always kind of took back from that. And that kind of helped me set up my ideas, you know. But yeah, getting back to it is you have if you don't have a business head, you need to be working with someone who has a business head. Otherwise, it's always going to be a hobby for you.
Yep.
So,
True. JM, what do you got?
Okay, so the question was, when does it become, when does it stay a hobby and when does it become a business? Well, I agree with, Marvin's take where, like, yeah, everybody, it's going to be completely different for each person. And as Michael said, my dad's an accountant, so I grew up with all the checkbook balancing and financial business stuff. I can only speak for myself. I know for me, it was always a business, even when I was a kid. So, I mean, now realistically, no. But I mean, like when I was a kid, it was, I think I've told this, I don't know if it was on JD's or somebody else's show, but like I was producing comics monthly, like, because I had to get that deadline met. I learned comic script format when I don't even know where I found it, because I meet guys that are in their 20s and 30s and still don't know how to write comic script format. But, I figured it out when I was a kid. So from the creative end, I always knew I wanted to do, I'll just blanket term it like entertainment, art and writing. And of course, like I said, I mean, I had some, I would say, business know-how. And yeah, I'm good with numbers too. That's fine. The one thing though is like, I'm still learning the marketing thing. But yeah, I think it depends on every individual, and I think the unfortunate thing about this job, right? And I teach as well. I know Michael does. He mentioned that too. It's similar to teaching in the way that like you go to school for it, and then you just get thrown into the job. Like there's no training for teaching. There's no training to be an artist. You go to school for it, or writing or whatever, and then you don't show up day one on the job and they teach you, okay, well, this is how we do things, and blah, blah. You're just like you gotta figure it out. And that's where, yeah, talking to everybody and picking people's brains and sharing information helps. But I think, yeah, it depends on the person, like I funny that Marvin said showing up at a con not knowing how you're going to sell anything, but that's how I learned how to do a con. The first con I did, and actually I didn't have books. I was one of those artists that hadn't worked on a book yet. Well, no, I had done some freelance stuff with people, and but I didn't have any of my own books. I was doing like what was it, anthology type stuff. But yeah, I just showed up to a show with like a book full of, I think, 12 prints. And it was like, all right, well, here I am. And then I just started learning how to do cons by being at cons. Unfortunately, a lot of this job is like learning on the job, And that, one last thing is like, so I went to art school. I went to Pratt. I didn't learn until my senior year that they had one course on freelancing. And they didn't even advertise that. So when you go to art school, they don't care. They're not teaching you how to do the business part. They already got your money. Sink or swim when you get out there. So yeah, which is probably why every time they do a poll, I see like, what is it, like 20-30% of art school grads are actually working in their field or whatever. So yeah. But yeah, so yeah, for me, it's always been a business. Am I perfect at it? No, obviously, otherwise I'd be McFarlane and, doing really well with it. But, yeah, and I agree that you definitely have to find somebody, if there's an area that you're not good at, which is, like I said, marketing. If I had more money and knew the right ways to approach, the consumer, then I'd probably have the whole thing.
Can I interrupt something? I just want to add, JM, one thing you can, and I've used this, a bunch of times, interns. Get interns, people looking for college credit who have learned their stuff, who have basic knowledge. You have understanding of where you need to go. Have them do their research for you. Have them do everything.
So I have on 2 or 3 occasions tried to work with an intern.
Mm-hmm.
Did not go well.
It is hard. Well. I've fired interns before.
I mean, and I don't want to like, of course, call anybody out, but the one kid, it got so bad that I was like, okay, just cut the boards and measure out the safe spot, because I work on watercolor, so I was just watercolor paper. So I figured, okay, like you just measure out the 10 by 15 and a half box, and we'll be okay. And he couldn't even get that done. I showed him how.
Well, I will say this.
Didn't know math.
Hold on, I will say this. I have to teach college. When I taught college like full time, I had to teach students how to use a ruler properly. Yeah. Like they don't understand. There's 16 marks between 0 and 1 inch, and what those marks are. And I'm like, I have to teach them how to measure pages out. You know, well, I actually go ahead.
I kept trying to tell him use a dot because he was using an X. I was like, no, put a dot down, another dot, 2 dots, straight line between them.
Yeah. I've been there, I've done that. That's never fun. But hold on, before I get you on, let me put some of these up first. From Trish, okay, I must be doing it wrong or got the wrong info. We were told if you're lucky on issue 4, you might make some money because each book is paying for itself. Dash says, I think too many creators like to pretend that this is a passion. They're following because it sounds better, but you look at their books and you can see that it's all obviously a push for an IP deal. To come back to Rosario, ain't no one doing titty books because they're passionate for their story, for the story they're telling. Plenty of people doing comics because they think it's an easy road to a Netflix deal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do we got here? My friend Henri Campon offers classes if you don't know how to sell your book, if you need help. I know we attended the first one together. And I was told, don't just have your books. Swag brings everyone to the table, buttons, poster, body pillows, so on and so forth. All right.
Actually, I'll bring this up real quick too, and everybody can steal this. I do bookmarks as a free giveaway, and that's actually the business card that I give out to, customers.
I still have my bookmark.
If it's other professional creators, I have a business card for that, like a legit one. But yeah, bookmarks, because they're usable. That was one thing that somebody did teach me in art school. That I was, always have a usable giveaway if you can,
Right. I got these little buttons. We give them away for free. Whatever. It looks great when people are walking around the convention. Hey, where'd you get that? And they send them back to our table. Oh, they're looking at the buttons. Oh, you got books too? And it's a great entry point. The bigger ones we sell. But these little quarter-size ones, dude, these freebies, man. It's like maybe $10 for a bag of 1,000. You put them out. It's nothing.
Yeah.
JD.
Keychains.
Those are great.
I still use the free candy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
JD, I got a question if I can.
Go ahead. What's up?
It's because your wife actually touched on it, and I wanted to ask the panel if each of you have the desire to push your IP outside of comic books. If you see this as a way of getting it into video games, on TV, animation, however it might be, is there that desire outside of producing your comic books?
My answer to Mark's question was going to lead into some of that here.
All right. So go ahead, Joe. Answer the question, both of them.
Okay. Well, first things first, Mark. I want to make certain that I answer your question completely.
All right.
So let me understand this. You're asking At what point you put on that business hat?
Correct. Or should you start off with it at all?
I'm going to disagree with most of the people on the panel, only on this one aspect, because you always start off with that hat on. I believe what most people were answering is based upon being a creator, but the thing about it is not everybody starts off as a creator. A lot of us sat in Artist Alley as an artist. A lot of us sat in Artist Alley as some other writer or some other aspect of this industry. My journey took me through, before I even published my first book, and seeing Artist Alley, learning the ropes and everything, from other artists about what it's like to sit in Artist Alley. Finally produced my first book in Artist Alley, started selling books and this, that, and the other, at cons and everything. And then one con led to another con, led to another con. And then all of a sudden it's like, now I can't get into Artist Alley. Then I started talking to showrunners. Reed Exhibition had that Come to Jesus meeting with me. And they asked the same question that Mark asked. You're a creator that has multiple books, not just from one series, 2. Why aren't you putting on that publisher's hat and moving over to this type of booth? At that point, they made the indication to me, kind of like what JD Rosario was saying earlier, putting on those big boy pants. If you're true about this business and you really want to make comics, take that next step. So I took that next step. In taking that next step, I also started to look into lawyers, because at that point in time, I was still doing sole proprietorship. I went from sole proprietorship, and unlike most of the people here who probably went LLC, I went full corporation based upon my lawyer's suggestions. I went subchapter S. By doing that, it opened up the doors tax-wise for certain things that I could write off now dealing with shows. You have to constantly have that business hat on for each and every step you make, whether it be with licensing, when people come up to you and say, hey, we want to license this image, this image from your comic book to put on skateboards and toys and this and that and the other. Or when you want to create a role-playing game and you want to work with a specific company, you have to write those disclaimers. Or whether somebody else takes interest to say, hey, we want to make a movie out of it. You have to put on that business hat and start learning what's what before you even make a decision one way or the other. Now, how far we go depends on where you're at and where your passion lies at, because I work with a lot of artists that the first that they want to go is just, I just want to do this art. I tried to teach them the business of being a publisher, but they didn't want that. That's where their passion lies at. They will eventually learn everything dealing with the business of being an artist, just like you have those that don't want to be no more than a writer. They will only learn those things that writers need to know to make it in this industry on the business side. But as a creator, as a publisher, you're going to have to learn a lot more, and you're going to constantly have that hat on at all times. It's more than just the financial. It's more about keeping that leverage for every aspect of your product. Because once you start getting into licensing and sharing out that IP to other entities, you don't know what they're going to do with your IP if you don't pay attention to those contracts. And it could damage you more so than the money that's coming in. But that's my take on that question here. And hopefully I touched on those things that Raphael is asking, because I do look into branching out beyond the comic books, but it's not one of those things that you just automatically rush into. You got too many people that's like, I'm going to make this comic book before I can pitch it to Netflix, as opposed to, I'm making this comic book because I want this story to come out. I want people to read this story. I want people to enjoy it. Now, if people enjoy it that much where I catch somebody's attention, where somebody suggested that, that's a different story. Do I see potential in certain things? Yes, but my end goal is not necessarily to be like, I got to get this Netflix deal. I want to push all my IPs to its furthest boundaries, whether it be, having 4 or 5 different video games, or 4 or 5 different versions of role-playing games, or 3 or 4 different movies. The sky's the limit, but one step at a time. You have to create that IP first, and you have to make it likable, and you're going to have to spend the time and the effort in making that IP that likable, period.
All right, cool. I'll answer it really quick. As far as business, hobby, it's always been a business. I joke about it, very tongue-in-cheek about it being my hobby, but it is my hobby, okay? I make a decent amount of money at it, but you got to understand, all the money I make, unlike Rosario, who drives around in Maserati, I don't just go on vacations with my money. I put it all back into the product. You understand? All of it goes back to my artists. I don't take any profits. Once in a blue moon, I'll buy myself a slice of pizza. That's it. The good stuff, New York stuff, flat, right? But but I put it all back into the business.
Stop it.
Next time, buy yourself a
You're
steak.
picking
You
up that
owe yourself that. You owe yourself a steak.
Yeah, well, sometimes I do the steak too, but seriously, I mean, I just focus putting all this back into the business, because the thing is I have a story. Like when I say I have a story to tell, I'm not joking. I got 13 scripts for the Oswald Chronicles sitting on the side, soon to probably be like 17. And when I say script, it's actually a story. It's not just one issue. These stories will run anywhere from like 70 to 180, 190 pages. So, we're talking about, it takes my artist a year to illustrate one story. So I'm trying to get to a point where I'm running multiple artists all at the same time. I need to run 4 artists at one time. I don't want to leave this earth without this story being done. And I don't intend leaving anytime soon. So, but there's a lot of story and I want to get it done, so I can move on to other stuff. That's the other thing. I have other ideas that I want to do, and I'm going to be putting some of them out this year, but Oswald's my thing and I got to get that done. So it's like, So I mean, is it a business? Of course it is. You understand it, but it's like that passion project that I've turned into one, so, but yeah, like I said, for myself, I take no profits, and I do it that way because I want to get this story told. Like I said, I got a full-time job. That's what that's for. What else? All right. And as far as selling it as an IP to anyone else, listen, I'll never turn it down. They cut me a check. Yeah, thank you. And we can move on so I can finish the damn story. I'm gonna let Rosario answer next because he says his iPad is dying on him. Now you can't speak. All of a sudden you can't speak. All of a sudden like.
The buzz from the beer started to wear off. I didn't look, is that the main goal? No, but is that an opportunity that, like, JD says, hey, if somebody throws some cash my way, I'm gonna say no. I'd be stupid to. Another reason why I would like that is because I don't pay the team top dollar. So if that comes in, yeah, it's so everybody gets a little bit of taste, at the end of it. But those of you guys know me know that I've already tried to do things outside of it. I've tried to get my toys off the ground. If you go to the website, you see I spent money in trying to get a side-scrolling video game made. At least we made attempts of trying to do that stuff on our own to see if it's feasible. We've got, proof of concept for that stuff. So if those opportunities do pop up, hey, we got something to show them.
All right. Cool. Jay, you gonna pop out now or you gonna wait?
I'll wait till this thing dies on me.
Okay, cool. JM, then you up.
You got me up?
You're
okay.
up.
All right, so yeah, I was shaking my head very vigorously when she asked the question. So two things. First, just to mention though, I'm not in the comics game to get my IP sold to somebody else. You know, I just want to make that clear. It's not one of those people. But that said, I mean, I've always had an interest in film and video games, and actually, I wanted to work in video games at one point. And believe it or not, I did one time in Baltimore have guys from Bethesda stop by and say they really liked my work and wondered if I'd ever consider having it adapted into a video game. You know, it was a general question, never went anywhere, but you know. And I was working with somebody on a chatty on a mobile game at one point, but like anything else, I don't know what happened to the guy. He just disappeared. So. Short answer is yes. I'd always be up for adaptations, 100%. And as it is, I've got 2 Chadiana scenario / game ideas pretty well developed at this point. That if anybody's interested, you know, I certainly would go for it because, yeah, you don't even have. I mean, you got to build it, but you don't even have to come up with the concept. I got like the whole thing worked out for that at this point. But yeah, definitely something I would be interested in and would love to see while I'm alive, you know, not when I'm dead and everybody's like just picking the, you know, what's left of it.
You mean you don't want to go out like H.P. Lovecraft? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, cool. Marvin, how do you feel about it?
Well, I don't even think that in this time you even need to pitch your product to anyone else when you can just do it yourself. I mean, those avenues are wide open for you to do animation, movies, video games, and going to streaming services. I mean, Netflix isn't the only streaming service out there that's looking for products. I mean, there's a few new ones that just popped up recently. Heroes Live TV that's looking for not just streaming like movies, but streaming games and also digital comics. So I mean, we don't really need to run to Netflix for this kind of stuff when you have the ability to go out there and go to a art station or a Fiverr and say, hey, who's got these skills to make this game? I want to make this game. Who got the skills? So you keep all your IPs with you, and then you take those products to other platforms, and then you say, here's my product. Now you got your product on there. You don't have to sell it to anybody, man. It's wide open, man. Let's run with it indie style.
All right, cool. Michael.
I'm kind of on the same lines with Marvin. I don't think you need to be looking for other people to be coming after you. I mean, I remember years ago, people would say, you want a game, you want an animation, whatever. And people would refer to that as selling out. And I was always for it, you know? But nowadays I've worked in gaming. I've actually, back in the 90s, I used to work with children's educational software. So I used to build games. I've worked in lots of different fields that I have the basic skills to set stuff up for myself. And then I could take it to someone else to hire someone who maybe is a programmer or something. And I did that. I put an app out years ago, a few years back. It was a storytelling app. And because of things changing on Google Play and on the App Store for iOS, it's down right now, and I can't afford to do the updates. But like I said, I'm working on a bunch of different products. The gaming is something I'm working on right now in addition to my comics. I have plans. I've been building characters. I'm even animating some scenes just to have samples, and then those are things I'll probably kickstart, to find, hey, this is what I need to pay my programmer, and I'll do all the art. I think we could do it all ourselves these days for the most part, and we don't need to go places, and if someone sees it and likes it and they want to cut a deal, awesome. If not, it's out there, and you can get it to people. It just comes down to how do you advertise it, how do you hit your audience, you know?
So I got a couple questions with that, Michael. So
Yeah, sure.
one, are you looking like one of these side scroll games, like where like the software is already developed, but you're gonna go in there and tweak it and add your own thing?
Yeah. Well, on one of them, yeah, I have actually 3 game ideas. One, I don't know if I'll ever see come out. But I'm a big fan of like role playing games. I played D&D, but as a kid, I was a big like PC. I loved, and I'm going back into the 80s, like 1983, these Sierra games like King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, if you guys know those. I worshipped those games. I'm a huge King's Quest fan. I blame them for my love of fantasy, and adventure. I would love to do something like a fantasy story in that way, and I have the idea. But I think the concept of programming and the amount of money I'd have to spend to make it actual to be an app on the phone or iPad or whatever, I don't know if I'll be able to do. But there is a guy I'm friends with. He's in White Plains, New York, and he has set up. I think JM, you might have used him. Is that correct for you? Or am I thinking of someone else who used them? No, you don't have a game. I'm sorry. It was another friend of mine. Built a game off their book, and this guy's developed like I don't want to call it a drag and drop, but he developed something, and you pay him whatever the price is, say $1,000. I know it's more, but say $1,000, and you provide him with all the artwork, and he'll just set it up for you. So he has this like templated thing for different types of scrolling games and whatnot. So, I know if I build that, and then I can raise the money to pay him.
It's funny you mentioned. I'm sorry. It's funny you mentioned this. The guy that I was working with, the same sort of thing he was developing. So,
what the King's Quest game or template?
No, the template with drag and drop ability and programmable extra.
Yeah.
I've worked with some programs that do that sort of thing. So
yeah, I used to teach like Game Salad when I was in college, and when I was teaching college, you'd work with things like Game Salad and the other platforms out there similar to them, which I don't remember their names right now. Like Construct, I think was it one of them. There's these different platforms that allowed you to build games. And then I never learned Unity, but my app was programmed in the Unity. The people I hired knew Unity really well, and then that's why it's down. And the only reason I haven't hired them again, because they were very cheap, they were good, is because they got new jobs and they have a non-compete clause in their contract. So they kind of left their own business they built together to go off and get full-time gigs with benefits, which is smart. But I was one of their first clients, and they were in the process of building up. So I had to deal with them for a good price, and that would have continued for a couple of programs.
So let me ask you a question, another one, real quick. Ballpark figure. What do you think it will cost you to make that game? Ballpark. Doesn't have to
which one? Like
let's say the easy one.
The easy one will probably be about, I'm gonna guess, maybe $2,500.
Okay. So
it depends. When I did my app, I got it for under $1,000. I'm not gonna lie to you. But it should have been about a $3,000 app. But these guys were new. They were starting. They were just building. They wanted to build their product, and their portfolio and stuff. So I got a good deal. But yeah, it's my app should have been about $3,000 to $5,000 because of the program. It's an expensive business, and then you got to think, what platform do you want to release it on? Do you want it to be an app, which nowadays is awesome, but do you want to try to get it on some kind of platform? Are you a PC gamer? There's a lot of them out there. Do you want to build something for that? And each one may require different programming or different setups because the final output for the screen size is different.
Right. Okay. I don't I haven't played a video game in years, so I don't know.
I haven't really either. I occasionally apps on my phone, but you know what? When I got my first job building working on the children's educational software, I stopped playing video games. I had more fun making them. So I haven't played like a real game in over 20 years.
Nah,
Yeah.
I get too OCD on it. Like too obsessive compulsive. It's just I just keep playing. I stop doing other things.
Well, I've been thinking about like picking up a little bit of gaming, like get a what is it, a Switch or something, just to play some games, because I spend so much time working on my comics or whatever. I'm doing art constantly. I feel like I need a break. And I remember that, and then I stopped myself from gaming. And I'll tell you this again. I know I going on a little bit. We got to go on. But a few years back, I was seeing a therapist, and the therapist asked me, "What do I do for fun?" Well, I read comics, I draw, I watch TV. And she goes, "Do you play video games?" I said, "No, but I used to, and now I like making them." And she said, "Well, you got to do something else." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Your whole life is about story. You need to escape from story." And I can't. I can never pull myself away from story. My life is always being involved around stories. So I'm a little nervous that if I go back to video gaming, like I always like things like Zelda and all that stuff, I'm going to get wrapped up in a story and forget about the other stuff,
Just play some Candy Crush, you'll be good.
All right. So, Mark, what are your feelings on it? I know you guys are coming out.
So actually, this is a very interesting question, because this is going to go way back to when I started out. I originally went to this comic book school in Manhattan, and this product book that's coming out this year, fingers crossed, that's what the publisher says, was my backup story. Because in the comic book school, this was in the 90s, we had professionals. They were saying about people stealing your ideas and how to get your stuff out there. And they said, what you should do is, if you have something that you want to be your own project, your own property, that's your baby, that should be your second project. Your first project should be something you don't care about, that you just want to get out there. And if somebody comes along with some money, great, here you go. So that way it makes a name for yourself. And then you can do the project that you actually really wanted to do. So 30 years later, I put so much heart, sweat, and soul into the secondary project, but it's still designed to go out and be IP and whatever. And hopefully, if it does well, then when I do my actual real book that I had in me from the beginning, that's going to be my baby. And no one's selling that. That's just going to be the comic, and that's the end of that.
All right. Cool. Carlos, answer your question. What you got?
Okay, so yeah, I have it written down in my notebook. It's in there, so I don't really talk about it too much, because I'll have my my art team will bring it up, and I don't really like to talk about it, but it's there. It's in the back of my notebook, written down what goals I have, and that's one of them. I would like to see what my IP made into an animated thing. I could even have my brother video games. My brother's a video game programmer, so if worse comes worse, I could always maybe even kickstart it and pay him to do it. So, but I'm not a gamer, so it's not really something that I stopped playing. Like you, I stopped playing video games in like 2008 or 9 or something like that. But yeah, that's a goal of mine. The only thing with that is that if you want it to be made into a TV series, an animated series, a movie, you're going to have to give up rights to your characters, because they buy that. You're selling them. Even Kirkman does not own the rights to The Walking Dead for TV. AMC does, which is why he had to rip off what's his name? The artist.
You heard about that?
Yeah, he had to rip off the artist. He had to tell him, but of course that guy sued him and won a settlement. But the original artist for The Walking Dead, he talked him into giving up those rights, because supposedly that was the only way he was going to be able to sell the Walking Dead to the AMC. So if you want to see it,
this contract.
and so if you want to have it made, you have to go into it knowing that you're going to have to give up a certain part of your baby.
That's why I was saying my project was originally designed to give up, to be able to go off into the world and be free. But now, after all these years, I'm not sure, but I still think that's what it was designed to do. So go ahead.
Yeah.
And my original product, which has never seen the light of day except for one drawing, and I have the original script. You know what it was called? Remember, I made this in the 90s, and this was before it came out. My book was called X-Force.
Oh.
And when that came out, I was like, I'm gonna hold on to this forever and ever and ever until I can do it and have my own baby.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna read a few of these things and we're gonna wrap it up, right, guys? I just got like a bunch of stuff here. So
No.
I was told don't just have your books. Swag brings everyone to the table. Buttons, posted body pillows and other things. We all need body pillows. I also have a piece of candy, but you have to hear my pitch to get it.
Free candy is always good.
Yep. Our lawyer suggested nonprofit for the first 5 years because you're not making anything. Just FYI for your new creators. I thought we were gonna get on a debate on which is better, Chicago style or New York pizza. We've already had that debate, and we already know
New York.
We're up on a neutral truce as of right now, and Mr. Rosario is not here to represent.
Yes. Rosario spent all his money on offset printing, so he can't afford a wall charger for his iPad. Church Lowell's, that was from Daffy Rage. Doesn't have big port pads for iPods. All right, so there you go. Then it's just more porn ads. Thank you, porn people. Ellie, I'm gonna whip that out inside we catch you. All right, so everybody, all right, let's start with Marvin. Marvin, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work, sir.
So I'm going to make it really easy for you. I'm going to drop my link tree into the chat, and you can share that. That way I don't have to go over the whole entire gamut of things that I have on that link tree.
Gotcha. All right, there we go.
Look at you. You're so efficient.
It just makes it easier. I put my link tree on my business cards now too.
That makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay.
Oh, we lost him. He's like, all right, I'm out.
Come out.
Link tree, take it easy.
There you go. Your work, sir. Oh, Carlos.
All right, so you can find me championcomicsgroup.com, facebook.com/Champion Comics Group. And I don't talk about it enough, so you can pick up The Power Company from Coalition Comics. And that you can pick up. There it is. And you can pick that up on indyplanet.com. So just in the search Power Company and it'll pop up and you can order your books there.
All right, cool. Mr. Michael?
Yeah, my name that's on the screen at Michael Grassia is basically how you can find me anywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever has social media. I'm on it at that name. You can also find me at Get in Tune. That's TOON on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/getintune.net. And that's my podcast show.
And let me, just from my own experience, it's an awesome podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll be live Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Who do you have on?
Mike Belcher this week is coming on. I don't know if you guys know him. His stuff.
I do.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and he's a good guy. He's been on before. We're actually going to be discussing like our influences that got us into drawing and who you could see in our style of work and stuff like that. So it'll be a fun show.
JM?
JamDeSantis.com, which is right in the in my name on the bottom there. That's for all the creation stuff. You can get my socials there and all my other websites, or for the publishing end, just go to darkfirepress.com. Same thing. All the links and socials are on that site as well.
All right, cool. Mark?
All right, so it's very simple. As we always say, just Google "It Came from the Radio." Everything, you can find us quite easily. We have a brand new website up, which I am very proud of because I know nothing about technology and I did it all by myself. I'm super proud of my new awesome looking website. It has all the places where you can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are a live syndicated radio show, so we have a new show every single week on 88.1 FM WARY in Westchester County. You can hear us online at centraloregonradio.com on Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fridays on indyvolt.com at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursdays on btdradio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesdays at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on sci-fi.radio. And we have a live show that we have every second Wednesday of every month, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library. That's www.eastmeadow.info. And our next live show will be on February the 9th. Go to the website I just mentioned, East Meadow Public Library. You can register for free to be part of our studio audience.
All right, cool. Mr. Joe, where can I find you, sir?
Well, you could start with the Linktree link that I put in the chat there. But the easiest way to find me is right here on YouTube from the Desk of the Small Press Publisher. Every Saturday evening at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, I will be here either doing comic book reviews, actual interviews. Like for next week, we're going to have Trish and Mike James Bankston, who finally did their first comic book and their first Kickstarter campaign. So we're going to have them on next week. I also do commentary and all that other stuff on the show here. So if you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. And it's out there on that link tree that I posted in the chat here.
All right, cool. Well, you know, I'm here, JD Calderon, every Sunday with these fine group of gentlemen, and sometimes another group of fine gentlemen. But thank you everybody for showing up. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, all under JD Calderon. You can go to YoswellChronicles.com, TallTalesOnline.com, any of those places, you can always find me, all right? So thank you so much for being here. Guys, you are all awesome. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, JM. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Joe. You guys are all great. I can't even tell you guys, how much I appreciate you guys coming on, because I love talking comic books, especially the business accounts, all you guys, and sharing the information. It's like, I wish I could keep this rolling for 24 hours, but we all got stuff to do, right?
Exactly.
So thank you so much. Have a good night, and I'll catch you guys all soon. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.